Have you ever been handed a design request that feels, well, completely impossible? In this explainer, we're going to see how some new AI tools are not just speeding things up, they're basically rewriting the rules of the entire design game. Let's dive in.
Okay, if you're a creative, you know this exact feeling. The pressure is on, that clock is ticking loud, and you've just been handed a project that honestly sounds like a prank. It's the kind of thing that usually means a few sleepless nights fueled by way too much coffee. And there it is, the classic impossible ask. You need to design for multiple platforms. You get that famously contradictory feedback, make it dazzling but simple. And of course, the deadline is tomorrow. Oh, and you know what? A working prototype would be great too. In the old world, this was weeks of work, not hours.
But what if this wasn't impossible anymore? What if you had a co-pilot, really, that could handle all the grunt work and just give you a massive head start? This is where the panic stops and a whole new way of working begins.
So, let's meet the tool that's making all of this possible. We're talking about generative AI that's built right into design software, in this case Figma. Now, this isn't about replacing designers, not at all. It's about giving them superpowers. So the core feature here is called First Draft, and that name is really important. You give it a simple text prompt, and it spits out an initial design. But here's the key thing to remember. This is your starting block. It's not the finished product. It builds the foundation so you can focus on building the masterpiece.
And the workflow itself is just incredibly simple. Step 1, you write a prompt. Step 2, the AI generates a draft. And then step 3, and this is easily the most important part of the whole process, the human designer steps in to refine, to correct, and to inject the creativity and strategy that only a person can.
All right, so let's put this thing to the test with our so-called impossible deadline. We need a mobile app, a desktop site, and a landing page for a music streaming service. Let's see how this actually works.
And that's it. That's the whole prompt. It starts with something that could not be simpler. No crazy instructions, no complicated specs, just the core idea. Let's see what the AI comes up with from just that.
And here's the before and after. On the left, you've got the AI's first draft. It's functional, but it's pretty generic, right? On the right, that's the human touch. The designer swapped that boring placeholder for a beautiful, custom Ghibli-style image, localized the text to Korean, and tweaked the layout to guide your eye. This isn't just editing, this is adding a soul.
All right, next up, the desktop site. Same concept, just a slightly different prompt. And again, in seconds, the AI generates a solid foundation for the designer to get to work. You know, this right here perfectly illustrates the partnership. The AI's first try had some obvious mistakes, like things were misaligned. A human designer sees that in a nanosecond, fixes it, and then starts to elevate the design, making the text pop, swapping in a cool background that matches the brand. The AI makes mistakes fast, which just lets the human fix and improve even faster.
And now for the final piece of our puzzle, the marketing page. We need this to grab new users, so the prompt is just slightly different to reflect that goal.
So once again, the AI gives us a starting point, but it's a bit cluttered, kind of chaotic. The designer's real job here is to act as an editor. They slash entire sections that don't make sense. They create a clear font hierarchy, in this case using the pretend art font for the Korean text, and they adjust colors and spacing to guide the user's eye. It's really about subtracting all the noise to add clarity.
So let's just recap what the human is bringing to the table here. The AI gives us a raw block of marble, but the designer is the sculptor. They're the ones fixing broken layouts, applying their expertise in typography, creating custom visuals, localizing content for new markets, and just decluttering everything to create focus. These aren't just tiny tweaks. This is the very essence of what good design is.
So in just a matter of minutes, we have all 3 static designs: mobile, desktop, landing page. Done. But we can take this so much farther. Remember, our client wanted a prototype.
So, are we just looking at a bunch of pretty pictures, or can we actually make this thing feel like a real working product?
Oh, absolutely. And we can do it incredibly fast. These static screens are basically the building blocks for a fully interactive experience that you could put on a phone and test right now.
And here's how easy it is. First, you just draw lines to connect the screens and map out how a user would click through. Next, you hit a button called Smart Animate, and it creates these beautiful, fluid transitions for you. And for the final touch, you can literally just drag and drop a video file right onto the design to create a live, moving background. It's amazing.
So think about this. That whole process, from a single sentence to a fully interactive prototype across 3 platforms, happened in a tiny fraction of the time it would have taken just a few years ago. And that raises a really big question. What does this all mean for the role of the designer?
Well, what's valuable is shifting. For years, a big part of a designer's value was knowing how to use complex tools, the hard skills. But as AI starts to automate a lot of that, the focus is moving to the soft skills, the things a human can do that an AI can't. It's about taste, about strategy, and having a deep understanding of the why behind every decision.
This is what matters most now. An AI can't solve a user's problem if a human hasn't clearly defined what that problem is. It has zero understanding of context. And maybe most importantly, it cannot judge if a design is actually good. That takes human taste, creative direction, and a clear vision.
You know, a good way to think about it is this. AI is becoming like a powerful intern. It can quickly generate that first 80% of the work, the initial drafts, the boring layouts. And that frees up the senior designer to focus all of their brainpower on that final critical 20%, the part that turns something that's just functional into something truly exceptional.
So this isn't about automation replacing creativity, it's about automation unlocking it. It takes away the tedious work, giving you more time to think, to experiment, and to perfect. So the real question for all of us becomes, if AI creates the first draft, what will you create with the last one?